It seems I am the villain here. Old dog, he is your little dog, right? Then you should keep a tight leash on him. If not, you might not even find his bones. Chen said with contempt, glancing at the middle-aged man who shared the same features as Hu Tian. If he was not wrong, then they were both related. And even if they weren't, he didn't care. In his previous life, the most entertaining thing in his eyes was putting these young masters in their place and stirring up trouble whenever he felt like it. It didn't matter if they annoyed him or not. As long as he found someone unpleasant, he would slap them down. They were his enemies, and with war going on, there was no reason to be polite. And now that he was in the world where people kill over a slight dissatisfaction, there was even less reason to care about. Of course, he wasn't an idiot to court death directly. In his previous life, the country was backing him, and now it was the beautiful Sect Master, Zhen Yunxi, who would hold the sky for him. So, there was no need to worry about others trying to kill him in anger. As for getting strong and then provoking them, where's the fun in that? If he, as an ant, can make the life of a ferocious tiger difficult, it would be legendary and more exciting. So, what was there to fear about provoking extra unnecessary people? Hence, he didn't care and continued to look at the middle-aged man with a taunting expression. Watching him like this, all the elders frowned with displeasure, while Hu Ming's face twisted with rage. But before he or anyone else could speak, the little dog burst out. Insolent! Who gave you the courage to insult me and my father? Do you think the Azure Cloud Sect is a place where you can run your mouth without consequences? Hu Tian shouted with killing intent, not holding his hatred towards him. However, Chen remained unfazed and provoked him further. So what if I run my mouth? What can a little dog do? Even the old dog behind you can't do anything to me. He replied with a taunt, shaking his head without any worry. Watching him like this, Hu Tian's fury grew. And just as he was about to shout again, his father, Hu Ming, intervened. Impudent mortal, Azure Cloud Sect is not a place where you can do as you please, he said coldly, his eyes glinting with malice. No one had ever dared speak against him. But now a mere mortal had insulted him in front of all the elders, challenging his dignity. There was no way he could stay calm anymore. Since your parents failed to teach you manners, I will do it in their place. He snorted angrily, releasing his core formation aura, which surged like a tidal wave, intending to crush Chen into meat paste. But before the force could even reach him, Zhen Yunxi raised her delicate hand. However, what shocked him more was Zhen Yunxi's rapid advancement. A year ago, she was at the 7th stage of core formation, the same as him, yet now she was 2 stages ahead. In an instant, the oppressive force vanished, and Hu Ming staggered back, spitting a mouthful of blood, his face turning pale. 9th level of core formation stage. He muttered with horror as he looked at Zhen Yunxi with shock. The cultivation realms were divided into Qi gathering, Qi refining, Qi condensation, foundation establishment, and core formation. Each realm was further divided into 9 stages, and even the smallest gap between these stages was like heaven and earth. Hu Ming was at the 7th level of core formation, yet he was suppressed by Zhen Yunxi with just a wave of hand. This explained the horror of small stage. However, what shocked him more was Zhen Yunxi's rapid advancement. A year ago, she was at the 7th stage of core formation, the same as him, yet now she was 2 stages ahead. It didn't make sense because Zhen Yunxi wasn't known for a heaven-defying talent, and she had been busy these past years. So, when did she find time to cultivate? The sect elders were equally stunned at this, but they quickly recovered and hurriedly congratulated her. Congratulations, Sect Master, for advancing to the 9th stage. With the Sect Master holding the fort, our Azure Cloud Sect can finally prosper. We can finally show our dominance outside. All the elders flattered her with fake smiles, but Zhen Yunxi ignored them and glanced at Hu Ming with a cold look. When did the main hall become a park for any dogs to walk in? Do you think that the little dog should learn how to run secret? Or do you want the little dog to leak our secrets? She inquired with a frosty look. She had summoned the elders for an important meeting, and yet someone dared to bring unrelated people into the main hall. Was there even a reason to have an important meeting then? She might as well release every secret in public. Rather than teaching others, you should discipline yourself. The Azure Cloud Sect doesn't belong to you. Also, it's better that you brought the little dog here today. I need to announce something. she said coldly before heading towards the golden platform. Chen also followed her with Li Mei, while not forgetting to smirk towards the father and son with provocation. Seeing this, the two clenched their fists in anger. The sect elder's expression was also not good because Chen was glancing at them with a carefree smile that seemed to be saying, "Look, I am awesome, right? You guys can't do anything to me." Jin Yunxi also saw this, and her mouth twitched slightly. But she said nothing and sat on the throne-like chair atop the golden platform while Li Mei and Chen stood behind her. After this, she turned her attention to the sect elders, who stood with unnatural looks. "I have called you all here to announce that I have taken another disciple, and that is Chen, standing behind me. I will be also giving him the quota of the Mystic Pond, as well as all privileges of sect elder along with resources," she announced with a calm look. Hearing this, the elders couldn't remain calm. The first to object was Hu Ming, his face flushed with anger. "Sect Master, this is unfair. That quota belongs to my son, and you have already taken one. How could you take the last one too? Moreover, why grant such privileges to this insolent mortal? He is not worthy," he shouted coldly. "Yes, Sect Master, please reconsider. Even though he is your disciple, it is excessive to grant him the privileges of a sect elder," another elder said. "Sect Master, don't make a rash decision. You saw how arrogant this mortal is. He does not deserve such privileges, nor your favor," a female elder added with a frown. However, Jin Yunxi didn't even give a shit about their words, and waved her hand to stop them from complaining. "This is my sect, and my words are law. If you are dissatisfied, you are free to leave. But if you don't want to, then don't get in my way, and do not interfere with my disciples. If not, I won't mind uprooting your ancestors' grave and throwing you out with them," she declared icily. The elders' faces soured at her words, and Hu Ming's fist trembled with rage as he glared at Jin Yunxi. As for Hu Tian, shock flashed across his face. Everything that should belong to him had been taken away, and he was powerless to stop it. Watching the drama unfold, Chen couldn't help but smile. "It seems I am the villain here," he muttered in his heart with chuckle when Jin Yunxi continued again. "I wanted to discuss more important matters, but with an unrelated little dog here, I've lost my patience. So, the meeting will end here, and now you all should inform everyone outside." Jin Yunxi instructed and looked back. "Let's go, we're done here," she said, leaving the hall with Chen and Li Mei. None of the elders dared to stop her, but their expressions remained dark. "Did you see that? She treats us like nothing. If you still refuse to follow my plan, be prepared to be kicked out," Hu Ming said with a snort before leaving with the little dog. The remaining elders exchanged glances, communicating with eyes. They were all dissatisfied with Jin Yunxi because she had somehow become Sect Master and not them, who worked hard for the sect. They knew her grandfather had founded the sect alone, but still, it was not a good feeling they were having. Because of this, many of the elders started to think about Hu Ming's words. "System Panel and Master, is it okay to leave like this?" Li Mei inquired with an anxious look as she felt the cold atmosphere behind. She was just a village girl and hadn't been involved in things at a higher level, so she was feeling quite scared thinking the sect would fall. Watching her like this, Jin Yunxi couldn't help but chuckle. "Li Mei, your master is not weak. Moreover, look at your senior brother. Someone wants to kill him now, but he is still carefree, isn't he?" she said with a smile. Hearing her, Li Mei wanted to retort that Chen wasn't her senior brother. But before she could, he patted her head again and spoke. "My junior sister Xiao Mei, you worry too much. Look at Yunxi. She can't control the elders under her. However, they had no choice but to obey her words, right? Don't you think something fishy is going on here?" he pointed out with a smirk. He had experienced many things in the past life because of this. Seeing through the thoughts of sect elders was a child's play for him. Moreover, Jin Yunxi had said it was her sect, so he could guess why they were all hesitant to go against her. SE of the Nelfrio. Net. Website on Google. To access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. However, Li Mei still found it hard to conclude and could only look at her master, whose mouth twitched with irritation. "This brat. How dare he call me by name?" Jin Yunxi thought angrily. But she was helpless and could only take a deep breath to calm herself down. "Li Mei, you are still too weak to know such things. So don't think too much and let's go. We are done here." she said and waved her hand to lift them, before flying towards her residence. Without any delay, her residence, which meant Yi Chen's main body was only 10 miles away from the sect. It was also the biggest mountain in the Azure Mountain range, standing aloof at the heights of 30,000 feet, while the base spanned around 40 miles wide. On the mountain at a certain height, a beautiful ancient courtyard stood with elegance, and before it, 3 figures descended gracefully. Yi Chen, Li Mei, this is where you both are going to live. I have already arranged a few servants to bring all necessary things here, so don't worry about going to buy them, Zhen Yunqi informed, pointing at the beautiful courtyard in front of them. However, there was only one courtyard, which meant both Li Mei and Yi Chen would be living here. Although there were large numbers of rooms, Li Mei still didn't like the idea of living with him, and once again she became anxious. Master, I don't want to live with him, she stated with tears as she distanced herself from her senior brother. But as usual, Zhen Yunqi ignored her and turned towards Yi Chen before taking out a small book, a black ring, and a shiny jade bottle. Yi Chen, this small book contains the Azure Cloud Art, which is the highest grade of cultivation technique inside the sect. Although it is only high-tier Earth grade, it will suffice for some time. Until then, I will try to get hands on heaven-grade cultivation technique for you. The spatial ring was also a treasure that only elders and outstanding disciples had. The tier 1 chi gathering pills were not expensive, but they were still something that disciples have a hard time getting, especially the ones who just started cultivating. The next is spatial ring. Once you step into the first stage of chi gathering, you will be able to use it. There are 500 low-grade and 100 middle-grade spirit stones inside, which will be useful for your cultivation. And lastly, is this jade bottle, which contains 50 tier 1 chi gathering pills. If you need more, you can just request from me again, she said, giving him all 3 items without any hesitation. If anyone knew that she had given him so many things, their jaws would fall out in shock. The Azure Cloud Art was like heavenly treasure in the sect. Disciples and elders were only allowed to cultivate a few parts of it. If they want to cultivate every part, then they must make enormous amounts of contributions, which is no easy feat. The spatial ring was also a treasure that only elders and outstanding disciples had. The tier 1 chi gathering pills were not expensive, but they were still something that disciples have a hard time getting, especially the ones who just started cultivating. As for the spirit stones, there was no need to say anything. No matter the grade, they were very expensive and needed a lot of contribution points. Yet she gave Yi Chen an enormous amount of them without hesitation. It could be clearly seen that she valued him very much. Yi Chen could guess that these things must be very valuable. However, he was still calm as water. Even getting reborn just surprised him slightly. So how could such things move him? Moreover, if he lost composure over this, he would be embarrassed to claim himself as a legendary soldier who adapted to any situation quickly. Zhen Yunqi didn't know this, so she was surprised at how composed he was. Nevertheless, she didn't care too much, because she herself wouldn't be amazed if anyone gave her these items. There was also one person who was calm and composed, and that was Li Mei. But it was because she didn't know the value of these things, and thought Master must have many of them. Fortunately, no disciple or elder knew her thoughts. If not, they might spit out blood in anger. Li Mei, come with me. I have something to give you, Zhen Yunqi said. And after saying a few more words to Yi Chen, she brought Li Mei to the retreat room, where they had seen his perfect body. They both couldn't help but recall the heavenly sight with a faint blush. However, Zhen Yunqi quickly shook her thoughts and activated the formations in the room. Li Mei was puzzled at this, but it didn't take too long for her to find the answer. Master, this is? She questioned with shock, looking at the glaring blue jade pendant, which gave a profound cold feeling. Does the master want to give me this? She thought inwardly when Zhen Yunqi started to explain. This is an inheritance of the tier 9 inscription master as well as the heaven grade cultivation technique. It's just that only women can learn and cultivate this. I have learned everything from it, and now I am going to pass this on to you. With your talent, I believe you will be able to become the first tier 9 inscription master in Golden River Kingdom, she said with a serious look. Hearing her, Li Mei was dumbfounded. She didn't know what the tier 9 inscription master was, but she felt overwhelmed just by thinking this. Moreover, her master had very big expectations from her. who knew nothing about cultivation. And Master, isn't this too much for me? I don't even know how to cultivate. She replied with fear, shaking her head rapidly. What if she failed? Would that make Master hate her, or even everyone? She couldn't help but feel anxious. Watching her like this, Zhen Yunqi smiled. You don't need to worry about cultivating. As long as you are close to Yi Chen, he will help you, she said and continued. Don't try to make distance between both of you. He is just teasing you and won't do anything forcefully. Also, as long as you are even a friend of him, he will definitely help you to cultivate, and at the speed of heaven-grade spiritual root, she stated. Hearing her, Li Mei was stunned and was just about to inquire. Zhen Yunqi waved her hand. I have other things to do. So sit down here and hold the jade pendant between your eyebrows. I will help you to look through the cultivation technique. After that, you can go back and digest everything. She instructed and gestured for her to sit down. Watching her like this, Li Mei could only give up with a nod before following her instructions. Just as they were both busy, Yi Chen was lying on the bed leisurely while looking at the system panel in front of him. Name, Yi Chen. Race, Spiritual Mountain. Current form, Human Mountain Spirit. Lifespan, Immortal. Cultivation, None. Spiritual Root, Heaven Grade. Bloodline, None. Divine Powers, Verdant Blossom Art. Spirit Stone Condensation, Divine Eyes. Heavenly Pulse Technique, Heavenly Comprehension. System Points, 1000. Fishing, Divine Fishing X5. Allows retrieval of lost treasures, techniques, and items from the rivers of time and space. Note, to earn system coins, please cultivate or absorb the blood essence of monsters and enemies. Every fishing depends on luck. As long as you have high luck, you will be able to get heaven-defying treasures, though limited to the level of fishing. 3. 4. After going through the lengthy description, Yi Chen understood how this system worked. If I cultivate for 1 hour, I will get 100 points. And if I kill a first-stage Qi-gathering cultivator or monster, I will receive 100 points as long as I absorb their blood essence. But if I break through and start cultivating the second stage, I will receive 200 points per hour, the same as for killing the second-stage cultivator or monsters. There is also reward for breaking through the realms. At every big realm breakthrough, I will receive 1 divine fishing chance. But whatever I get through it will depend on my luck. He muttered to himself before shifting his attention to the shop. There was only one thing sold here, and that was fishing chances. Yellow grade fishing costed 1,000 coins. Profound grade 10,000 coins. Arath grade 1 million coins. And lastly Heaven grade, which costed 10 million coins. There were also grades further, but they were all question marks. And when he tried to select them, a prompt showed up indicating his cultivation was not enough. So, I need to cultivate further to unlock them, he said with a hint of interest and closed the shop panel before focusing his gaze on 2 buttons. Diving Fishing X1, Diving Fishing X all. Well, time to fish now, he said with a smirk. And without hesitation, he pressed the second button to fish at once. Fished, bastard. If a small setback can shake you this much, then how can you go further on the cultivation path? Go back to your room and fix your state of mind before tomorrow morning. If you don't, then forget about getting cultivation resources from now. Hu Ming shouted with anger as he looked at Hu Tian, who was still in shock. He valued him very highly because he has Earth-grade spiritual root. It was only low tier, but still it was something highly sought in 3rd grade and 2nd grade sects. But what was the use of putting resources in him if he couldn't even get over a small setback? Scram now. Don't show me your face until you get over it. He shouted again as he saw Hu Tian not even reacting a bit. Even now he was still the same. His head lowered with shock and fists clenched in anger. If a strong cultivator insulted him, he would be able to accept this. But a mortal insulted him and his father. Moreover, the mortal took away the girl he liked and the quota that belonged to him in front of everyone. What's the point of cultivating then? He yelled in his heart with blazing fury before moving towards the door of the room with the same expression. Watching him like this, Hu Ming couldn't help but roar again. Bastard! How could you cultivate further with this state of mind? He shouted with irritation. However, Hu Tian paid no heed to him and left the room. This ungrateful son. Hu Ming couldn't help but curse loudly before taking a deep breath to calm himself. He couldn't deny that he wasn't angry at Zhen Yunqi and Yi Chen. But what could he do if his cultivation is now below her? That bitch really hid well. But no matter how you struggle, it's useless. He muttered with a cold glint and looked outside the room. Hu Ben, come inside, he instructed. Hearing him, a man with a rough face entered the room. I am waiting for your instructions, master, Hu Ben said with a respectful bow. In response, Hu Ming waved his hand. Go and find out who brought that impudent mortal Yi Chun into sect. Also, give me all the information about this mortal. I want everything known, even the graves of his family and pets. He commanded with a cold expression. Understood, master, I will work on it immediately. Hu Ben replied before leaving the room. Ding. Because the host is fishing for the first time, the system will boost the luck of the host. Ding. The host has used 5 divine fishing chances. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully fishing the following items. Divine Resonance Arts. Emperor Void Pearl. Myriad Book of Divine Alchemy, Medicine, and Herbs. Supreme Twin Ice Lotus. Divine Rebirth Needle Set. Warning. The items had been fished, and the host should be prepared to receive them. A familiar, cold female voice rang out, and the notifications appeared in front of Yi Chun, making him stunned. Before he could think, the space around him started to twist, and a black ancient book appeared in the void, followed by a snow-white pearl, a red ancient box, and a wooden ancient box. After this, they all landed on the bed with a soft thud. Only 4. Yi Chun muttered with a puzzled look when the space started to twist again, and a big book that was thick as an adult elephant's leg and big as the study table appeared in the void. Watching this, he quickly grabbed the 4 items and stood a distance away from the bed with a speechless expression. Instantly after this, the thick book landed with a big boom. Fortunately, the bed was made from high-quality material and was durable, so it successfully held the weight of the book. Seeing this, Yi Chun couldn't help but nod with approval. The bed should be able to handle the cultivation of strong fairies, right? He spoke with a serious look as he admired the quality of the bed, rather than the items in his hands. Host, all the items have been delivered. Please check the small description of these items in your fishing item list. The cold voice of the female rang once again, shifting Yi Chun's attention. Divine Resonance Arts. A cultivation art that encompasses every technique and art from alchemy, soul cultivation, body cultivation, to even demonic cultivation. Once someone mastered this, there was no need to learn another technique ever. However, to cultivate this art, one must dual cultivate with their partners. If not, they will not be able to break through the bigger realms. This cultivation art was very famous and sought after by many, but for some reason it had been lost in the river of time and space. SEO are the novelfire.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. For more information, please read the Divine Resonance Arts Manual. Emperor Void Pearl. This pearl has a small world in it where you can store all the items and even living beings. With this pearl hiding in Dantian, there is no need to fear getting caught when stealing something. However, because the pearl was made from unknown materials and had escaped in the river of time and space, it was hard to determine whether it would be dangerous or not. Myriad Book of Alchemy, Medicine, and Herbs. Saving the lives of people is important. So, in an ancient time, many strong experts grouped up together and decided to write their every bit of experience into a book. Shortly after, this book became a heaven-defying treasure, and a war occurred because of it before the book was lost forever. Supreme Twin Ice Lotus. A rare herb that can give 2 women a special physique if they consume 1 lotus. If someone dual cultivates with such women, their cultivation speed will increase by leaps and bounds along with their partners. This was a treasure of the ancient Ice Lotus sect, but in the war, it was lost, and no one has been able to find it. Divine Rebirth Needle Set. Just as the powerful experts wrote the heaven-defying book, they also crafted a divine needle set to save lives, which can be used by anyone, even mortals. Although the needle set can't be used as a weapon, many still coveted it and waged war against whoever got hand on it, making blood flow like rivers. In the end, the needle set was sealed in an unknown place and was lost forever. Cultivation, isn't this too good? Yi Chun muttered with a stunned look after reading through all the descriptions. He had gotten 3 divine items, a supreme item, and an emperor item. although he was unaware of how good these grades were. With the wars happening because of it, he could guess they must be heaven-defying. Well, as long as it can help me pick up fairies, it won't be bad, he said as he grabbed the long wooden ancient box before opening it. Inside were 90 golden needles divided into short, medium, and long needles. A pity that they aren't weapons. He shook his head slightly and closed the wooden box before placing it on the table. He then opened the red box, which had the 2 blue lotuses inside but had grown from the one stem. After taking a deep look, he closed the lid and placed the box away with extreme care. He didn't have any intention of giving this to anyone because he wanted to try planting this lotus. If he could mass produce it, he would be the greatest man in the whole cultivation world. I should ask Yunchi to secure a forbidden area tomorrow, he muttered before closely looking at the snow-white pearl. In the description, the system said it was dangerous. Nevertheless, he wasn't afraid of the unknown. However, to use this, he needed to cultivate first. Hence, he shifted his gaze to the black ancient book in his hand. As for the big myriad book on the bed, he decided to read it after cultivating. Divine Resonance Arts. Although it has the disadvantage of not breaking through the big realms without dual cultivating, it is still beneficial. Moreover, the grade is very high. He muttered to himself and started flipping through the ancient book in his hand. There was a big introduction here, taking about 10 pages. After reading through all of it, he understood how this cultivation art worked and what the breakthrough conditions of big realms were. I can cultivate up to the 9th stage of Qi gathering by myself. However, after that, I will need to dual cultivate with a partner who is in the same realm as me or higher than me. Only then I will be able to break through the big realm and enter the first stage of the next realm. Chen pondered out loudly while wondering how he should convince Li Mei into dual cultivating with him. In his previous life, he had done many things, except getting into relationships and having sex. It's not like he didn't want to, but he didn't have any leisure to do. Once he had tried to hook up with a beautiful woman only to find she was an experienced doctor and was going to steal his organs after drugging him. He had no choice but to shut her down there for eternity, before deciding not to hook up with anyone in the cities of war. Because of this, he didn't have any experience in this field. Well, there's no hurry. I have plenty of time to learn this, he said to himself and sat down in the lotus position. After this, he gazed at the Divine Resonance Arts Manual, which had more than 1,000 pages. There was no hesitation, and he started reading through it with focus. With the divine power of heavenly comprehension, he was able to understand everything easily. Moreover, he wasn't aiming to finish the book. He only wanted to learn the first part, which will suffice him until the 9th level of Qi gathering. As for the latter, he will learn slowly day by day. Hence, he only focused on the first 15 pages, reading again and again for 2 hours just to confirm he wasn't missing anything. Only after he was sure did he place the book away and closed his eyes to start cultivating. The first realm of cultivation was the Qi gathering stage. In this realm, everyone senses the spiritual Qi around them and inhales it before circulating through a specified path in their bodies. For Chen, this step was extremely easy. It was not because of his talent, but because he was a mountain and had control over spiritual Qi here. So he only needed a thought, and the Qi around him entered his body with obedience. If anyone saw this, they would cry out tears of blood, because sensing the spiritual Qi for the first time was like finding a needle in a haystack. Even the cultivators with higher talent would find it a little hard, but for Chen, this was easy as breathing. Moreover, the spiritual Qi around him was quite obedient and circulated through the path he designated to them. Soon a cycle was complete, then second, third, fourth, and it kept for 9 cycles. When the 10th cycle started, Chen felt he had reached the bottleneck, and no matter how hard he tried, he just couldn't complete the last cycle. My Dantian is absorbing spiritual Qi? He thought with a frown as he felt the Qi flowing inside the Dantian without him doing anything. He didn't hesitate and activated his divine eyes before gazing into the Dantian, which was like a hollow space. There was nothing expectational here, except in the middle of Dantian a golden root floated in the void, devouring the spiritual Qi greedily. Chen was stunned at this. However, he didn't delay and started to inhale the spiritual Qi more rapidly. Because of the spiritual root, the chi inside his body was almost exhausted. If he let it go like this, then he would fail to enter the first stage of chi gathering. It wouldn't be a death, but it would be very painful. Hence, he kept inhaling the chi to surpass the devouring speed of spiritual root. But in response, the golden spiritual root increased its suction force, consuming every bit of spiritual chi that was entering his body. Witnessing this, Chen couldn't help but frown. Is there a problem with cultivation technique? Or is it because my body is different, and so is the spiritual root? He pondered while once again inhaling the large amount of spiritual chi. Via the novel F. Ir.at website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. He was a mountain spirit, so he didn't have any problems no matter how much chi he absorbed. However, as the amount increased, a whirlpool of spiritual chi formed around him, which slowly yet surely got bigger and bigger. First stage of chi gathering. What's happening? Zheng Yunxi couldn't help but frown as she looked in the direction of the courtyard. She was a core formation cultivator and could see the spiritual chi flowing there in large amounts, forming a small whirlpool of energy. Is he cultivating or doing something else? She muttered with a frown and waved her hand slightly. In that instant, the whole courtyard shook, and ancient golden inscriptions appeared on the walls, suppressing the visions of anyone outside. Chen wasn't aware of this and kept inhaling the spiritual chi as much as he could. But suddenly, the golden root seemed to lose its interest and stopped devouring. Then there was nothing. Hey, at least do something. Chen shouted with a speechless look when he saw this. He had thought that his spiritual root was undergoing some kind of transformation, but there was no change in it. Even after waiting for a while, the golden root remained the same as if it hadn't devoured any spiritual chi. In the end, he could only give up and focus on the 10th cycle. With no intervention from the golden root, everything went smoothly. And as soon as the 10th cycle completed, a soft boom echoed from his body. A wave of warmth surged through his dantian as once again, the spiritual chi flowed there. But this time it gathered like silver a mist rather than getting devoured. It took about a minute for the dantian to fill up, and after this, he was able to start cultivating further. However, Chen didn't hurry and started to consolidate the stage, which meant repeating the same process to make sure. There was no room for improvement. For every stage, the path of the spiritual chi cycle was a bit different, so he didn't have any problems doing this. And within an hour, he was done consolidating this realm. First stage of chi gathering. Although not strong, it feels quite great, he said with a calm look as he clenched his fists, feeling the newfound strength pulsing through his body. After this, he took out the spatial ring, given by Zheng Yunxi. He didn't hesitate and dropped the blood on it before letting his spiritual chi inside. The space inside the ring was as big as a small mansion. In a corner there were small and medium-sized, pure white stones placed together, along with a few pill bottles and some equipments like swords, spears, etc. She is really thoughtful, Chen said with a faint smile and stored all the items he got from the system, except the snow-white Emperor Void Pearl. It's not that he didn't want to store it, but he just couldn't send it inside. Also, the system didn't provide any item box. Hence, he could only put this in his pocket. He was curious about the inner world inside it. However, he didn't want to court death, especially since it will take a month for his body to reform and his junior sister might celebrate about this. Hence, he put aside his curiosity and left his room. It was already night outside, and the whole courtyard was lit with warm lanterns along with moonlight. His gaze couldn't help but linger on the beautiful sky for a little before he continued to move towards his destination. Li Mei, I know you are here. There is no use of hiding inside. He spoke with a helpless look as his divine eyes pierced through the walls, finding Li Mei, who held her breath after hearing his footsteps. Gur, why are you here? She asked begrudgingly, not opening the door. I am hungry, so I was wondering if you have something for me, he said with a shrug. Humph, I don't have anything. Go and look in the kitchen. If not, ask the master, Li Mei replied with a cold snort. Hearing her, Chen couldn't help but shake his head with disapproval. My junior sister Li Mei, you should respect your senior brother. Also, whenever he is hungry, cook something for him with your own hands. This is the job of a junior sister. How could you deny this? He said in a dissatisfied tone. Just as Li Mei was about to retort, a sweet voice came from outside. Li Mei, Yi-chun, I have brought the dinner, so come and eat. Zhen Yunqi called from the dining room. Hearing her, Li Mei had no choice but to get up and open the door, only to find Yi-chun still standing with a smile. What? She asked with a pout. Nothing. I was just waiting for my junior sister. Yi-chun replied, shaking his head. And without her consent, he grabbed her delicate hand before moving toward the dining hall. Even though he had started cultivating, he still needed to eat. Even Zhen Yunqi was same, although she can use food pills in place of food. But not many cultivators did this since large number of pills can create pill poison in their bodies, affecting their cultivation. Hence, Zhen Yunqi will eat from time to time rather than taking food pills. Take a seat here. From tomorrow onwards, a servant will come and serve the breakfast, meals, and dinner. If you want to eat, then you can, and if you don't want to, then just skip it. No need to inform them, she said as she beckoned them to sit in front of her. When suddenly she froze. You reached the first stage of qi gathering, she said with a stunned look as she saw through Yi Chen's cultivation. Hearing her, Li Mei's eyes widened, and she looked at him with doubt. However, Yi Chen ignored them and sat down. Yunqi, can you make a forbidden area where no one can enter without my permission? Even you? He inquired with a serious look, as he wanted to plant Supreme Lotus there. Zhen Yunqi was unhappy at getting called by name again. But when she heard him further, she became surprised. What are you planning to do? She questioned with a curious look. Even Li Mei couldn't help but look at him, wanting to know what he was planning. However, Yi-chun just shrugged and smiled mysteriously in response without explaining anything. Watching him like this, Zhen Yunqi couldn't help but feel a little annoyed. Okay, I will make it, but where do you want it and how big? She inquired with a sulky tone. However, Yi-chun didn't mind and answered. Behind the courtyard is a lake, right? That's where I want. Just cover the whole lake with walls and a roof. That's only what I need, he replied without hesitation. I can do this, but it will take 2 to 3 days. And I will also make a large farm around it, where you can plant the herbs to accelerate their growth, Zhen Yunqi said, to which Yi-chun didn't deny and nodded. After this, they shared a quiet dinner, with only clinking of chopsticks filling the room. When the dinner ended, everyone returned to their own rooms. Even Zhen Yunqi returned to her own room inside the courtyard. SEO_the-AVIO-Elfire.net website on Google. To access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. There was a retreat room for her, but it was only for long periods of cultivating. So most of the time she stayed and cultivated here. Li Mei was still digesting everything she had learned, so she didn't cultivate and slept with relief, knowing her master was there to prevent the bad wolf from entering her room. Well, time to sleep, Yi Chen muttered, laying down on his bed without any worry.